Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yesterday we left off with the beautiful pastime of how the Brijabasis came to meet with Krishna at Kurukshetra during the time of the solar eclipse. We heard how Narad came and demanded dakshin for Krishna's marriages that were performed without his announcement, without telling him. So then all the queens gave all their jewelry on one side, and still it did not equal the weight of Krishna. And then the queens themselves had to go and take shelter of Srimati Radhika and the gopis. They prayed to her that if you do not help us, then we will lose our Krishna. Narad said that if you're not able to give me dakshin of something as valuable as Krishna, or more valuable, meaning that Krishna's on one side of the scale and whatever you put on the other side should outweigh him. If you're not able to do that, then I'll take Krishna himself. And then the Brijabasis won't have him, the Dwarkabasis, no one will have him. Then the Dwarkabasis can realize the separation of the Brijabasis. So the queens of Dwarka went and begged to Srimati Radhika, and Radhika wept one tear on a tulsi leaf and placed that, she gave that to the Rukmini, that was placed on the other side of the scale, and immediately Krishna went up and the tulsi leaf went down. So after that, then we'll just pick off from there, that when Krishna was first meeting in Kurukshetra, then first he met Yashoda. As the Brijabasis arrived, Krishna was already present with all the Yadavas. He was dressed like a royal prince. But as he saw Yashoda coming, then he gave up all his surroundings, everyone, without any shyness. He just ran towards Yashoda. Like a race. He was racing towards Yashoda, forgetting everything. And she also began to run towards him. And then he jumped in her arms, and then their ras, their natural mood of love came out. Yashoda sat down. Hey, Yashoda's natural ras came out. She sat down, and Krishna sat on her lap. And then she covered Krishna's head with her anchal, and Krishna began to take her breast milk. So such was their love, even though Krishna was over 100 years old, and Yashoda was like 140, 50. Still, she was giving him her breast milk with so much love, and Krishna was accepting that. So after that, then some of the Dwarkabasis felt some jealousy. Now, the Brijabasis are here, and Krishna's so attracted to them. He loves them so much more. So one of the Yadavas named Padma, who was related to Kamsa, she came forward and she's very arrogant. And so she was saying, Krishna is the son of the Yadavas. He's in the Yadu dynasty. And we were in a great difficult circumstance, so therefore we gave Krishna to Nanda and Jashoda, and he was like their foster child. Really, he's not their child. They don't think that Krishna is the son of Nanda and Jashoda. So most people think like that. That's why in the Bhagavatam it says, Jayati Janani Vasa Devaki Janma Vado. Vad means a theory. So there's a theory that Krishna is the son of Devaki. So Sukadeva Goswami spoke like that because he was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, who is in the Yadu line. And so he's partial to, he's not directly in, but he's related through his grandmother Kunti. So anyhow, great-grandmother. So he's related like that. So Sukadeva Goswami said Janmavado. He didn't say directly he's the son. He said there's a theory that he is the son of Devaki, but it's not certain. But the Brijabasis know that really he is the son of Nanda and Jashoda. And in another place, it's revealed that Krishna is really the son of Jashoda. Because there's a verse, Sukadeva says that when Krishna was born in Nanda, Gokul, they had a huge ceremony and festival, and the next morning, they did the ceremony of cutting the umbilical cord. And so, obviously, if they cut the umbilical cord from Jashoda to Krishna, then he has to be the son of Jashoda. So that verse is given there. Also, the gopis say, Jayati Tedikam Janmano Braja, that Krishna is born in Braj. So there is that, but still the Dwarkabasis think he is ours. So this Padma said, for 10 years, the Brijabasis took care of our Krishna, and so you should draw up a ledger, make accounts, that Krishna, he went to the forest and he herded the cows for about 6 years. And so what's the value of that? Every day we have to pay him so much. And then also No, they said like Jashoda and Nanda, they gave him a house, they gave him clothes, So they took care of him for 9 years. So maybe we owe them something for that. But also, Krishna worked for them. So Krishna performed child labor. He was just a little boy, and every day he was out tending the cows. So certainly they owe something back for that. So we'll write up the accounts, ledger, and we'll see. If they owe us anything, we'll forgive the debt. And if we owe them anything, okay, we'll give them double. But they should give up any claim to Krishna. Really, Krishna is our son, our property. So as Padma was saying like that, then Rohini, they distracted them and took Krishna away, thinking Krishna will be disturbed hearing all this kind of katha, that all this will disturb Krishna. So let's not have him hear this. So at that time, Rohini sent Padma away and took Krishna and led him, knowing that the gopis were waiting to meet with him. So she got Krishna a chance to go meet with the gopis. When we went to Kurukshetra with Prabhuji a few times, so once we went there, and there's the Kund, there's many different places, but there's a Gaudiya Math actually established by Bhaktisiddhanta, and later on it's there. It was taken by a different acharya. So that's the place where Krishna met the gopis. So it's a little bit removed from the main area of Kurukshetra. So Krishna went and met with Radhika and the gopis there, and they had a chance to interact like that. And so there it's where Srimati Radhika revealed her heart, saying that, please come to Vrindavan, that my heart is non-different from Braj. And I want to hear you playing on your flute in the 5th note by the river Jamuna, under the Kadamba trees, in the kunjas there. I want to be with you there. And I know that you want to be there. You cannot be happy if you're not there. So please come to Braj. So meeting with the gopis there, Krishna said, soon I will come to Braj. I just have to finish 1 or 2 things, and I give you my word this time, I'll come back. When he left Braj, he said, I'll come back in a few days. He said, in 2-3 days, I'll come back. And so the gopis, on this word of Krishna, they were surviving on this hope that Krishna will come back. And they thought, if we give up our bodies, then Krishna will be so sad to hear that we gave up our bodies. So anyhow, with great difficulty, they were maintaining their lives. But they stopped cooking, cleaning. The cows were all thin, and the kitchens were full of cobwebs. And Radhika felt so much separation. She was thinking, I cannot survive without Krishna. Krishna is very far away. If I give up my body, she was telling the gopis that when Uddhava came, he met Radhika, not directly, but he saw her, and he saw her talking to the bumblebee. And first he saw Radhika laying on a bed of rose petals, and the manjaris were there checking her breath to make sure that she was still living. And her fire of separation was so hot that the rose petal bed she was on would very quickly wither. All the petals would become dried up, and they would have to bring new rose petals. So in this situation, in this extreme separation from Krishna, but still they didn't give up their bodies. So Radhika said that, oh, I may give up my life at any moment. So when I give up my life, you should put me on a tree, tie me up, and let the air in my body dry out by the wind and blow and go to cool Krishna, like a chamara. Let the fire in my body mix with the fire and be used as a lamp to do arati for Krishna. So she prayed, let all the elements of my body return to the elements of nature, and then I can go and meet with Krishna. So this is how intense her separation mood was. So Srimati Radhika was praying like that. So when she met with Krishna, she said, please come to Braj. Here we cannot meet like we were able to meet in Braj. Here there is Rasabas. Here you are surrounded by all the kings and opulence, and you are dressed like a prince. This is not conducive to the moods of Braj. Outside of Braj, people see Krishna in different rasas. Some in Virya Ras, in the chivalry mood, and they want to fight with Krishna or play, or be like that with Krishna. Some see him as an enemy. But in Braj, everyone sees Krishna as their beloved. Either in Vatsalya Ras as her beloved son, or in Sakya Ras as best friend. But in Braj, Krishna is only their dear most beloved, and they only want to serve and please Krishna. In Dwarka, they have a possessiveness, thinking that he is our family member. And so it's like a form of family selfishness. Oh, he is our family member. He should be with us. He should help us. But in Braj, it's completely pure. In Braj, it's Parakya Ras. Even some people say, oh, like Krishna and Baladev, they're not direct blood brothers, but they grew up and they're like brothers, but they're closer than brothers. And so they're real brothers. Nanda and Jashoda, people say they're not the real parents. But even though people would say like that, Nanda and Jashoda knew Krishna is our son, and they only had one-pointed love for him. With the gopis, they were never married to Krishna. They didn't have any real fixed relationship. They were all married to other gopas, but still they did everything only for Krishna's pleasure. They had no thought of their own happiness. They only did everything to please Krishna. Whereas in other places, they want Krishna to help them and to serve them. Like most people want God to help them. Prabhuji says that one way Jagannath became Jagannath is because outside of Braj, everyone is trying to take everything away from him. So Krishna said, okay, take it, but you can't take my heart. You can take my arms, you can take my legs, you can take everything from me, but you can't take my heart. My heart is with the Braj Gopis. So that's why Jagannath, no arms, no legs, he's outside Braj, but his heart is Srimati Radhika's place. So his heart is there, Jagannath's heart is there, and if you see inside the heart of Jagannath, you'll only see Srimati Radhika and the Braja Gopis and the Brajabasis. So Krishna told Radha, I want to come back to Braj, but it's very difficult to come out at this moment. So just wait, in a very short time I'll come. So then also Nanda met with Vasudeva and the others. And Vasudeva, everyone's very polite to the Brajabasis, but inside they still had this mood that we are superior, we are aristocratic, we are in noble Kshatriya families. The Brajabasis are like Gwalas, simple cowherd people. And they didn't want to give Krishna up. But Nanda and everyone was saying, look, before we didn't take Krishna back by force because we knew he had some duties to perform and he didn't want that at that time, but now we can feel he truly wants to come, and so Krishna must come back with us. So the gopis at that time told Krishna, if you don't come with us directly now, then we know we'll just bring you into our hearts. We have your darshan, and through our eyes we bring you into our hearts, and then on the chariot of our hearts we'll bring you back to Braj. And always remembering you and calling for you, we know that you'll be there with us, and soon you'll be bound to return. So Krishna, after this Kurukshetra meeting, then Krishna quickly finished up all his other responsibilities. Dwarka sunk into the ocean. And then Krishna, in a hidden way, after killing Dantavakra, our acharyas say that Krishna returned to Braj. So there's other pastimes we hear, like in the Bhagavatam, we hear how Krishna departed. Actually, Krishna didn't leave his body. It said that Krishna ascended with his associates. So he returned to Braj. So the pastime of Krishna returning to Braj is very sweet. This is one of the third example of Krishna's appearance of Jagannath. The first day we talked about Indradyumna Maharaj and how Krishna appeared to him as Jagannath. The second day we heard how Krishna appeared as Jagannath in Dwarka, hearing the katha of the Brajbasis from Rohini. So this time, this is described by the acharyas as the most intimate way how Jagannath appeared, and actually really the original way. Actually, you could say first he appeared in Dwarka, because after he appeared in Dwarka, later he appeared in Braj. So when he appeared in Braj, the day before Krishna finally, this is in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Sanatana Goswami describes that they saw Krishna was so absorbed in the pain of separation from the Brajabasis. He had a high fever, and that's why he called the Brajabasis foot dust. And Narad brought all the Brajadevi's foot dust, and every day Krishna would apply it on his body. And this is where Chandan Leela comes from. Every day he would put the gopis' foot dust on his body. This is called Gopi Chandan. And from that he said, now for all time, I always want to be worshipped with Chandan. If you don't offer Chandan to the Lord with Tulsi, the Lord doesn't accept any offering. When you worship the deity, you always have to get Tulsi and Chandan. And Tulsi is Brindavan, Brindadevi, and Chandan is also Brindavan, the gopis' foot dust. So this is where Chandan Leela comes from. Every day he was applying the Chandan of the gopis on his body. But still it wasn't pacifying his separation completely. Therefore, he was always weeping and crying. And so they thought, what should we do? One time Krishna fell senseless in separation from the Brajabasi. So they made Nava Vrindavan, a replica of Braj. And then when they woke Krishna up by singing the Braj Katha, and then Baladev said, come into the forest. Now the cows are waiting. It's very late in the day. So Krishna started to go. He saw the gopis as statues, golden statues. And Vishwakarma made this Nava Vrindavan, which is like a replica of Vrindavan. He's so expert. They appeared just like the gopis. Jashoda appeared just like Jashoda. So Krishna, he went like that into Nava Vrindavan. Then when he was going near what they said was like the Jamuna, he heard the sound of the ocean. And he came near the ocean. And that time Baladev reminded him, that this is Dwarka and you still have your responsibilities to finish here. So at that time Krishna became more disturbed and he was thinking, I should go to Braj. But at the same time Krishna was feeling very shy, thinking that I've been gone for so long and I promised to come back. So it may be like me coming back now. They may think it's like some kind of hallucination, or they may not accept me back. If you go away from your beloved for 100 years, you feel some shyness. Like, if I return, will they still accept me? Will they be mad at me? Will they never give up their man? Before, Krishna would do something a little bit wrong, and the gopis would be in man for so long, it would be almost impossible to break. But he thought, how much man will Radhika be in now? So he was somewhat shy to return. But then Baladev and Subhadra said, you must go back. So finally, Krishna said, if you go first and tell them I'm coming and see their mood is good, then I'll come for sure. Baladev said, I've already gone. And I told them you would come back, and still you didn't go back. So finally they agreed, and it said Baladev and Subhadra go first. Jagannath comes at the end. So they started going to Braj, and as they arrived near Braj, ahead of them they sent messengers. So when the news of Krishna returning in Braj came to the Brajbasis, immediately they began to feel overwhelmed in joy. And then they began to quickly clean and prepare everything. So that's the day of Gundicha Marjan. The day before Rath Yatra, all the devotees in all the temples around the world, they very nicely clean the temple. Because this symbolizes preparing Braj for the return of Krishna. And so they nicely wash and clean everything, but not only cleaning, afterwards decorating. So you see the Gundicha Mandir in Puri, it's decorated just like Braj, very beautiful with so many wonderful flowers and such a nice fragrance. So this is symbolizing the Brajbasis' ecstasy. Krishna is returning, let's quickly, nicely prepare everything. Because when Krishna was gone, the kitchens were full of cobwebs, they weren't cooking, everything was not cared for properly. So quickly they began to clean everything. This is the Gundicha Marjan. And that's why when Krishna appeared as Mahaprabhu, every year he himself would do this Gundicha Marjan, because he was in the mood of Radhika. And when Jagannath would come, he would say, oh, now Krishna is coming to Braj. And that's why he would pull Krishna, Jagannath to Braj. And when Mahaprabhu would go behind the Jagannath cart, then the cart would stop. Mahaprabhu would go in between 7 kirtan parties. But sometimes he would go behind the Rath cart, and then the Rath cart would stop. Jagannath would not move. And they would try to bring elephants even to pull the cart, but the cart would still not move. So then finally, Mahaprabhu himself would pull the cart, or he would use his head and push the cart. And then the cart would move, the chariot would move. So in this way, Krishna was in the mood of Radhika, pulling Krishna to Braj. And all the Brajbasis were preparing Braj, and that's the Gundicha Marjan. So when we clean the temple, afterwards we decorate with flowers and make it very attractive for Krishna's arrival. So in this way, Krishna began coming to Braj. And as Krishna began to enter into Braj, first he met with the devotees in different rasas. He met with Jashoda, Nanda, but he was very eager to go see Srimati Radhika. But Radhika was in so much fire and heat of separation. She was laying on her bed of rose petals in Uddhav Keri, which was another name. Forget the name. But in that area of Uddhav Keri. So Krishna quickly met with everybody, and then Baladev and Subhadra began to speak with everyone, and then Krishna snuck away, and he began to go to the Kunj to meet with Srimati Radhika. And as he was approaching the Kunj, he heard the gopis just chanting, and he began to also chant Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. And it said, as Krishna came into the Kunj, and the Lita and Vishaka and Rupa, they whispered into Srimati Radhika, Krishna is here. At that time, Radhika opened her eyes, and as Radhika's eyes met with Krishna's eyes, at that very moment, Krishna's heart completely melted, and because he's made of this divine mood of prem, then his form also melted into the form of Jagannath. So that's one of the appearances of Lord Jagannath. Krishna meeting Srimati Radhika after so long separate from each other, and finally having appeared into Braj and met each other, seeing each other eye to eye, and then Krishna appeared as Lord Jagannath. And so for a long time he was like that as Jagannath, and finally he came back to his sense and came into his Sham Sundar form. As Jagannath, he is also Sham Sundar, but his limbs are contained within his body, and that's one of the symptoms of ecstasy. If we look at the Asta Sattvik Bhav, which means the 8-fold symptoms of divine ecstasy, when it happens for a Baddha Jeev, certain limits are there. But for the Lord himself, there's no limit to that state of ecstasy. So he assumed that form of Jagannath in the state of complete ecstasy, in finally meeting his beloved after hundreds of years of separation. So that's how he became Jagannath. That's real Jagannath. So if we look at Jagannath Puri, Jagannath is also in the mood of praying for Radhika's shelter. And so Nilachal, which is that area of Jagannath Puri, Nilachal means, in one way, it means a blue mountain. So that area is described to be like a mountainous area before. But Prabhuji describes Nil Anchal means Radhika's shawl is Nila, Nila Vasana, bluish. And Anchal means shawl. So Nil Anchal means that place of Jagannath Puri is where Krishna comes to hide under the shelter of Srimati Radhika's Anchal. Like he'll sometimes hide under Yashoda's Anchal and drink her breast milk, but in Puri, it's Nil Anchal. He is hiding under the Anchal of Radhika, always praying and doing her sadhana to attain her mercy. So it said, Jagannath Puri is outside of Dwarka. It's not in Dwarka. Krishna left Dwarka and he went and hid in Jagannath Puri, thinking if I go to Braj, they'll try and find me there. If I hide in Nil Anchal, I can just do my sadhana there to achieve Radhika's mercy. And so if we look at Jagannath, he's dressed in a sari. He's hiding. He's dressed in a sari. He has a big flower nose ring. He has kundal, like the gopis' earrings. And he's never happy unless he is in the mood of Braj. So if they don't sing Gopi Geet or Jaidev Goswami's Geet Govinda at night, he won't go to sleep. If they don't sing Geet Govinda in the morning, he will not get up. He's always absorbed in Braj. His very cloth is sewn with the names of the gopis and Srimati Radhika stitched into the cloth. So the silken cloth Jagannath wears, he wears many meters of cloth wrapped around him. And all the cloth has the names of Radhika and also the verses of Geet Govinda stitched into it. Prabhuji has some of this cloth. It's very beautiful cloth. And so Krishna as Jagannath, he will not wear any clothes unless Radhika's names are in it and their pastimes are stitched into it. He will not eat anything unless the gopis cook it. So the gopis all assume the form of the Daitapatis who are Jagannath's cooks. And day and night they're cooking for Jagannath. He will not hear anything unless it's the songs of the glories of the gopis. They all sing the Geet Govinda songs. So we see Krishna in this way, as Jagannath is showing everyone, if you really want to be happy, come to Braj. Do sadhana to come to Braj. As Jagannath, he's showing us this is the place of sadhana, Kshetra Bhumi. Kshetra means the field. So it's the field where we cultivate our heart in devotion, in the moods of Braj, to get qualification to enter into real Braj. So Jagannath in this way is showing us, do sadhana with great tapasya, great seriousness, staying in one place like Jagannath, and only praying for the shelter of the Braja Gopis, only praying for the shelter of Srimati Radhika. That is what Krishna came to show us. So if we want to understand Jagannath, yesterday said, to understand Jagannath, we need to understand Krishna Lila and Krishna's real heart. And to understand Krishna's real heart, we also need to understand Mahaprabhu. So after Krishna disappeared, he appeared again as Mahaprabhu. And as Mahaprabhu, he was absorbed in the mood of Radhika in separation from Krishna. Before he was Krishna in separation from Radhika, but then he thought, still I cannot understand the glory of Srimati Radhika's love and the sweetness she experiences in being with me. So he appeared with the moods of Srimati Radhika, and then he also experienced the symptoms of ecstasy. So that's one praman that Krishna is Jagannath in a melted form of love. Because Mahaprabhu, in the ecstasy of bhav, divine love and prem, his limbs would also contort. He would escape from the Gambhira where he was staying, which was just like a little tiny little room. He could not even stand or lay down fully in that room, in the Gambhira. He stayed there for 18 years. And every day, every evening, he would hear from Lalita Vishaka, who are Swarup and Ramananda Roy, and he would hear Harikatha from them. And then we would see he would run out in ecstasy, and in ecstasy calling out the names of Krishna, his limbs would draw into his body in ecstasy. And he would become like Jagannath, like a tortoise, without arms or legs. And then the cows and other animals would lick him. And the devotees would come and do loud Sankirtan, and then he would jump up very high, jumping 8 feet into the air. And then sometimes Mahaprabhu, his limbs would elongate, and all the joints in his elbows, his legs, his knees, his fingers would elongate, and he would become like 21 feet long. And then again in ecstasy, his limbs would come in. So this is showing Mahaprabhu also is Jagannath. That's why we say Gaur, say Krishna, say Jagannath. That Gauranga is none other than Krishna, and that Krishna is none other than Mahaprabhu. So we'll stop here today. Vanchakalpatarubhasya, kripasindhubhyo cha, pritanam pavane vaishnavibhyo namo.